Hey, everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. I'm Anthony, and this is the podcast where connections thrive. Each episode, we spotlight inspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, and individuals doing amazing things. Together, we'll grow your circle, spark collaborations, and discover new opportunities. Today, we're meeting Jonathan Taylor, celebrated as America's leading classical guitarist and widely recognized for his fiery charisma and groundbreaking contributions to the world of music. With a career spanning decades, sold out performances across the globe, and over 300 recorded tracks streaming worldwide, Jonathan has cemented his legacy as a virtuoso and pioneer in classical guitar, from studying under legends like Pepe Romero and Frederick Node to performing to dignitaries and heads of state. How are you doing today, Jonathan?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, I was reading up about you, and I'm like, man, you've done a bit of everything. You went all over. You have a really interesting story. I think a lot of people would like to hear it. But to start off with, where are you located? It looks a lot nicer outside than where I'm at right now.
I'm here in Southern California in Huntington Beach area, and the truth is, so this is kind of timely or topical right now. Originally, I was born in Pacific Palisades, which doesn't exist anymore. That's what I mean, fires here.
Yeah.
So I haven't lived there in years. So, but my family home was, well, it's gone now. But my mother we used to sit out on the veranda with my father and look at people playing polo, and her water broke the morning of September the 10th. And my father drove her down to the hill to St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica. So I was born in that area, and I'm just making that topical because the city, it does not really even exist. I swear to you, I'm amazed at the fire damage. I've never seen anything like it, and I've been a lot of places in the world. I've seen fires in the Amazon, but I mean, this is so just making a comment because it's kind of topical.
Yeah, very, very topical. A lot of damage. So, but on a lighter note, if you have people coming to visit you that, maybe have never been to your area before, where are you taking them? What are you doing? And where are you taking them for dinner?
Disneyland, the Beverly Hills Hotel in Los Angeles, the Bel Air Hotel, Musso and Frank's, um, taking him to Grauman's Chinese Theater. Of course, it's called some other TCL or something, and Hollywood Boulevard. By the way, the fire was burning right behind the Hollywood sign. I was trying to film up there about 2 years ago, and we couldn't get a good shot of the background of the Hollywood sign. That was originally was a real estate sign. It said Hollywood Land. And originally, people know it now for the movie stuff. I go, originally it was to sell real estate in this area here. Um, so that's what's near me. I'm in Southern California. I'm a native, and but I've gone a lot of places.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I haven't been to Iowa. I would love to go to Iowa.
Come
My
during the spring or summer.
yeah, my from Iowa. But you've got cold winters. I tell people I've only seen the change of seasons once in my life when I lived with my uncle in Missouri for a year as a boy. And other than that, and I go, well, I traveled. Might be in Europe in January or something. But I go, I've never really seen that cycle that
Mhm.
part of life. I go, we don't have seasons in California.
Yeah, no, we get all four of them. We get them good and hard here. So, but okay, awesome. Well, what can you tell us about, your history and what you've done? America's leading classical guitarist. That's not something you just walk into. So, what do you do?
I right now I have a large solo classical guitar catalog that is. Wait a second. Hey, cool it. Did you hear that? Can you hear that dog?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, but you're okay.
So I am constantly going on location and filming videos for my YouTube channel, JT Classical Guitar Mastery. If you just type Jonathan Taylor guitar into Google, you'll find everything. So make sure to put guitar, otherwise you'll get a black football player. And although I look like a black football player, I'm not a black football player. So Jonathan Taylor guitar. But what do? I'm go out on locations and do a lot of performance videos. So right now I'm in Orange County, Huntington Beach, California. But in about 2 weeks, I'll be in San Diego. And after that, LA, so different places.
Okay.
Vegas. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, what is it like, starting off, like you said, grew up Southern California area. How'd you get into classical guitar and how'd it take you to, where you are now?
I listened to the recordings of Andre Segovia, saw him when I was 16 at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion in downtown LA, and was inspired to create the beautiful music that he created. And also, I couldn't believe that his fingers were doing those gymnastics. And so that's really a key point. And when people say, well, why did you do that? And I go, well, it is a great mystery of why one person in the audience listening to a concert says, hey, I'm really enjoying this concert, and another person saying, I want to be that. And what is the reason for that? Does man solve all mysteries? In other words, who knows? I don't know why.
I got you. Well,
That
how'd you get your start then?
spoke to your heart.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
for sure. Did you just was it something that you always knew, like after seeing that this is your goal no matter what, or was it something that you picked up as a a side thing and started landing gigs?
It was it was really mastering the instrument. Playing gigs is ancillary to like, it's embarrassing for, I can't believe people would go up on stage and not know their craft. In other words, to me, that's the thing. It is not so much adulation or money or any of that. I go, well, it's communicating something valuable to the audience, and that you are touching their lives in some way. And the idea that it's for another purpose, I go, well, then taking all the purity out of it. You don't want your wife to be a bar slut. You want her to be something different. In other words, the ideas that are so associated with, notoriety are not what the art is. You want to, if you hear that polyphonic piece on the classical guitar of Bach, one of the lute suites, something, whatever, and you go, wow, that is really something. And I also realized that you didn't have to have a group. You had the classical guitar is contained in itself. You're playing the melody and the accompaniment at the same time. It's multi-voiced, many timbres. As Segovia used to say, the guitar is like looking to uh, at the orchestra with reverse binoculars, because you're seeing the timbres and the shades of that in a very small, quiet voiced instrument.
So how do you go from, just sitting in the audience listening, being inspired to being, studying under legends like Pepe Romero and Frederick Node? How does that happen?
1% inspiration, a 99% perspiration, as Edison would say. Hard work. Talent is unrewarded talent is almost a proverb. The idea that you have, I go, what does it mean? When people say talent, I go, but what does it mean? I mean, okay, maybe a little, maybe 1%. I'll agree that there are people that are tone deaf, and, that exists. But I go, mostly it's hard work of burnishing the piece into you, finding the proper techniques. And in the classical guitar, there's very little pedagogy, meaning that violin and the piano have hundreds of years of teaching methods, where the classical guitar, very sparse.
Okay. What's it like representing the U.S. as a cultural specialist and performing for foreign heads of state?
Well, I'll tell you a couple stories. That's a great question. So the government is one thing, the people are another thing. So I'd be going to those diplomatic parties, those embassy parties. By the way, I saw a photo of the LA Mayor Karen Bass, whose job is over. Trust me. I saw the picture in Ghana where she was at an embassy party. I go, God, I've been to so many of those goddamn parties. I go, but not while my city was burning down. So what is it like? Well, for instance, I'll give you an example. I played a concert at the ambassador's residence, lots of ambassadors' residences. And why is that? To raise money, we raised about 25K for the Special Olympics. That was in Barbados, in Bridgetown, Barbados. And So what you do is you get all the UN delegates and all these types, these political types, and I call them the glitterati, the not the literati, the glitterati, and you put them in a room and make them pay up, and that donation then goes to a worthy cause. So um, I can tell 1,000 diplomatic stories. One time in Romania, I'm in Târgu Mureș playing at the Palace of Culture, which is about 3,500 seat auditorium, beautiful auditorium, and this was in the time that the Romanian people had just overthrown Ceausescu. As you know, Nicolae Ceausescu was the communist dictator in, what was that, 94? I don't remember the year. And 98. And he was not a member of the Warsaw Pact with the Soviets, but he was a vicious, brutal dictator. And so they wanted to get into NATO. Well, I knew they would. You have to have at least a 2% GDP, and they don't have any money. They're commies and they wreck the whole economy. So I told the audience there of 3,500 and the ambassadors backstage, and this is to give you kind of a difference between the ambassador stuff. I said, well, you're not going to get into NATO this time. It's probably going to take like 10 years or something for you guys to build up the economy, because these are the standards, right? Not that those standards have been met. So that's and the ambassador was pissed off. Boy, was he angry with me. Jonathan, why did you tell them they weren't going to get into NATO? I go, because it's the truth. I mean, I'm a free citizen. I mean, I'm not a politician. I told them, and I go, you're going to tell them anyway. I mean, you're going to tell them no. So, many adventures. I have a series on my YouTube channel called Adventures in Touring. And it's just like I'm at the head of JPL and, all sorts of people. When you step out of your house, I always say something will happen and you won't predict what will happen. So I don't know if that answered your question, but it's some stories.
Yeah, no, you go from I'm inspired to play the guitar, classical guitar. I'm going to learn it, and then now you're in the middle of some dignitaries, and you're performing somewhere, and it's like trying to connect those dots. How did I get here? So it's always interesting to see how you could start something somewhere, and then you end up places that you never would have thought it would take you. So that's always inspiring to hear.
Yeah, I believe that in life there's nothing other than trying. I do not believe victory is assured nor defeat, and those ideas are almost negligible in some ways. I saw a wonderful film called Runaway Train with John Voight, and he illustrated what my point is. And he's a prisoner, and he escapes, and him and his partner go down this runaway train. They're all going to crash and die into the mountain, and then the warden comes on, is airlifted over, and there was a battle between him and the warden, for years and years, the punishing warden. And so the warden is saying, you didn't win, you're not going to win. And he goes, win, lose, what's the difference? So my philosophy is that the only thing you can do is take the next step. What else is there? Will that next step work out in accordance with your desire or dream or your concept of it? Not necessarily. But maybe you should fail 90% and just get the 10. Maybe that's all that's necessary, all that's enough. It's enough to. So when people say, oh, but I quit, I go, what the hell does that mean? When people say I quit, I go, what does that mean? I mean, let's look at let's examine that issue. You quit, so that means you're just not going to do you like doing this? Yes. Okay. Oh, I'm not making money. I go, okay, so what? Maybe next time around you will, or pursue it from this angle. So the idea that you give up, I don't believe that's a valid thing, because I go, well, you'll just stop doing that action, and so you won't go down that way. And so I have a little bit different view. Keep throwing something on the wall, as they say.
Well, if you knew all it would take to succeed was that you had to fail 9 times in a row, you'd go do 9 things really fast, right? You would
Yeah,
try so many
very
times.
right.
So absolutely. So things being outside of your control and the way that things have changed over the years, how has the digital age transformed the way that classical music is reaching the audiences?
It's another way to screw the artists out of money,
Okay.
because now you've got each format. It's all a bunch of crap. In other words, when you bought a vinyl, a long playing record, okay, when you bought that, you owned it, and you could play it over. You might wear it out, but for $12 or whatever you paid, and then they changed it to the tapes, the 8 track, then the other tapes, then the DVD or CDs. Then now it's streaming. Spotify doesn't, what is it, a sixth of a cent you get on a stream? In other words, it's just another way to uh, find ways to use the product and not pay for the product, or pay an extremely low price so your margin is thousands of percent. And most of the time, the record guy, and they're not even producing the albums. The artist is producing the album. Now that's easy in my case because I just sit in front of a microphone and play. In my case, that's very easy. You don't have to have, an orchestra. You don't have to have 4 people or all that.
Mhm.
But so the record business has changed radically.
So for people starting out, what advice do you have for those aspiring guitarists looking to build a successful career in classical music?
I think you should first look at your playing. That's the most important thing. That's why you're doing it. And if it's not why you're doing it, what's the point? Uh, I mean, my purpose is to bring beauty to people and also to change the repertoire, which I've done. I've done all the Spanish masterpieces and the Bach and the Torroba and Tarrega. And how many more recordings of Recuerdos and Leyenda and Cadiz do we need? So I've adapted film music for the classical guitar from the 007, from The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, from American 19th century folk songs, got a rather uh, adaptations of maybe Scott Joplin or George Gershwin or many notables. So I've expanded. I consider myself a crossover artist because I've expanded the repertoire. That was predicted about me 30 years ago, by the way. I didn't think anything of it, but they were right. I've got a letter from a big whoop-de-doo. And so my mission is to capture more people because it's a crossover idea. I'll give you an example. In the country music genre, uh, that song, I'm trying to remember the artist, Hey Good Looking, what you got cooking? How about cooking something up for me? I go, well, that artist was a very small niche artist. And then along came Glenn Campbell. And why is that important? I go, well, was Glenn Campbell country? Yes and no. Was he rock? Yes and no. Was he folk? Yes and no. So what did he do? I go, he brought millions into the genre. And every country music artist that existed, Toby Keith, the one that just died recently, and the other people, I go, well, they couldn't exist if Glenn Campbell hadn't have been the crossover artist.
Yeah, absolutely. You've had a long career. You've done a lot of things, like you said. Had a lot of different experiences. What would you say your favorite thing is about where the guitar and everything has taken you?
Well, you get to travel everywhere. I mean, India, the Amazon, Philippines, on and on. And you get to go places, you get to meet different people from different cultures. In the states, I've been to most states. I haven't been to every Midwestern state. Like I have not been to Iowa nor Kansas, right, and a few others. But I love the states. I mean, I've done concerts, for instance, in Tennessee and Pulaski. There, I did a concert at the Martin Methodist College, and hey, cool it. Yeah, maybe that'll work. Maybe it won't. See, that's throwing something on the wall. So that's one of my favorite things.
Okay. Is there anything with it that you're still wanting to do or accomplish? Like, what are your goals now? After decades of experience in doing things, where are you
Yeah,
kind of steering it now?
to adapt more pieces to the solo classical guitar, to do more touring, more filming, more recording, and traveling. When I say gigs, I don't want to do more than 50 a year. That's like too much. At Segovia would do 200 dates a year when he was like 90. Now there's 365 days in a year, and he did 200 dates a year. Think about the plane and the hotel and all that. I go, my God, it's insane. And people ask him, why don't you retire? And his response was, and do what? I go, that's the perfect answer. And do what? Nothing? Sit on the couch and watch the boob tube? Or, rot my mind more?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You found what you're passionate about. You want to do as much as you want to do. So makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm sure we could go down the rabbit hole on basically anything here. You have a million stories out there. Um, is there anything that I missed that you really wanted to mention?
No, no, just the next time. We'll talk next time. The Just type Jonathan Taylor guitar into Google and you'll find YouTube channels, Spotify stuff, all the usual stuff you know about.
Okay, awesome. And I'll make it easier than that. I'm just going to take it all and put it in the show notes so people can just click on it and go right there. So I'll make it as easy as possible for them to find you. But perfect. If anybody would like to learn more about Jonathan, there's so much more. Go research it. Go look into it. Go listen to his music and his adaptations. There's a lot out there. You said it was what 300 right now?
About 305, I had to redo the spreadsheet for the catalog actually. So I recently, it was 305. But I've got 10 tracks with Warner Brothers, or 12 tracks that will revert back to me in a year. So it'll be even more than that. So
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, do that. There's more than enough out there. Um, go spend a day just listening. You're gonna find something you like. So, other than that, if you'd like to visit and see what we're doing, you can find us at ikag.me. You can find more episodes, subscribe to our newsletter, connect with more awesome folks in the growing community. If you or somebody would like to be interviewed, you can also apply on the website. But Jonathan, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on. You've led a very unique life. It's not a pedestrian story. There's entrepreneurs out there that they're like, I'm a plumber, I'm an HVAC, and that's more common. Rarely do you get to hear from somebody like yourself that took the road less traveled, so to speak. So it's really awesome to hear, kind of, inspiring different entrepreneur journeys. So really appreciate that. So let's all go out there, have an awesome day and grow our circles. All right.
great meeting you. All
You as
right.
well.
Take care.